Hey everybody, you know, I believe in a very centered political system, and I believe in the rights of all Canadians. The one thing I'm struggling with right now is the whole gun ban. You know, if you think about what the politicians are trying to achieve, I get what they're trying to achieve by all these gun bans. But the problem is the problems that they're trying to solve are in the inner cities with the gang violence and all that other kind of stuff. But the people that they're affecting with all these gun bans majority is rural Canadians, where firearms have been a way of life for us. We were raised with firearms. I don't know anybody that doesn't have the utmost respect for a firearm. So when they do all these gun bans, now all of a sudden we all have these firearms that are prohibited, that we're not allowed to use, that we're supposed to sell back to the government. And I'm sorry, at a fraction of the cost of what we paid. That's not fair. That's not right. And I've never met anybody yet, and I've talked to a lot of people that have ever said that they are going to sell their guns back to the government. So what that does is make criminals out of all of us that are legal gun owners, or they have to stay in locked cabinets and we can never use them or enjoy them. I have my own private gun range. I like shooting. My wife and I, we do it for enjoyment. We do different tactical courses, we do long range shooting, we do all kinds of different shooting, and we enjoy it all. And it's been a way of life, and it's been a hobby that is very much ingrained into us, and that has to just leave because our government says that it's illegal now. Well, that's not right, and that's not fair. We never had a voice for that. I'm not a criminal, nor is anybody that I know that legally owns firearms. Honestly, I think the solution to all this is to, if you want to make any changes with firearms, vet the people that are buying the firearms more. Vet the people that are getting the firearms license more. And make it harder to get a firearm. And maybe the legal gun owners will still be able to maintain their way of life, and the ones that are illegally getting the firearms increase border laws and border patrol. Put more policing there so that stuff isn't making it across the borders. Honestly, I don't think I'd love to find out how many acts are done with legal firearms. Yes, there is some, and it's horrific. But out of millions of Canadians, millions of gun owners, we all have to suffer because of the acts of one or two? That is not fair. If somebody drowned somebody else and the government were to make it illegal for anybody to go swimming, what's the difference? It's not the guns that kill people, it's people that kill people. People kill people with knives and whatever, bats, whatever they want. It's the people that do it, not the instrument. So, and the people that are respectably using it, this guy can go and stab somebody, and that's a crime. But should everybody lose the right to own a knife? Doesn't make sense, does it? Nor can you stop people from owning a knife. So why would you try that with firearms? You think you're actually going to take firearms away from the people? No, it's not going to happen. The more you try to take firearms from the people, the more the people are going to want to hold on to those firearms or get more firearms. You can see it with the handgun ban, when he brought in the handgun ban. And again, I get what they're trying to accomplish with this. And they're trying to show the people that they're trying to do something to reduce crime. But they're just doing it the wrong way. You guys really don't know what you're doing. You know, you create a gun ban and say, okay, as of this date, there's going to be no transferring of handguns and no purchasing of handguns. Well, what did that do? It spiked handgun sales across Canada, highest in history. Every single handgun in Canada sold out within a month and a half. So how many millions of guns? They sold like 2-3 years worth of handguns in a matter of 2-3 weeks. So did Trudeau's government actually stop handgun sales, or did they increase handgun sales? They increased handgun sales. Now, do you think the people are spending all this money on guns and ammunition to give them back when the government says, hey, we're going to buy them back from you? They didn't buy them to give them back at a fraction of the cost. They bought them because they love guns. It's their way of life. It is a means of protection. It is a means of getting food. It's a means of enjoying an afternoon with family, going out doing some shooting. And it's unfortunate that there is some that, you know, take advantage of firearms and people get hurt. But we shouldn't suffer for it. Oh, not all of us anyways. So if they want to make some changes, I really think that they need to start backing up, taking a look at the whole scope of things and what really is the problem. The problem is illegal firearms coming into Canada. The problem is the gangs. The problem is drugs. The problem is alcoholism. You know, if you didn't have drugs and alcohol, I think you'd drop murder by a whole lot. But instead, let's make drugs legal and let's put an alcohol or outlet on every freaking street corner. That's what government has done. So, but then they want to reduce crime. Okay, well then you should have left it the way it was, where it was a federal or provincial liquor store and there's only one in every town. Back when I was young. And now they took a liquor store and privatized it, and there is literally one on every street corner. So you get higher alcoholism. There's more mental health problems, which people tend to turn towards drugs and alcohol. And drugs and alcohol, I'm sorry, they stimulate negative things in people, and then crimes happen. And people get hurt. You know, if there was no drugs, then there wouldn't be gangs. Why would gangs need to be a gang? Because what do gangs do? Nothing legal. It's always illegal stuff. You want to get rid of crime, get rid of the gangs. You want to stimulate some good things in Canada, then maybe try and get good people into law enforcement. Entice people to want to join law enforcement. And help to clean up our streets. But instead, what happens is people don't want to be law enforcement anymore. Law enforcement get hammered on social media and media in general. Defund the police. And anything they do, they're criticized for. When we have no idea what those guys have to deal with on a daily basis. All those people, drugs and alcohol, all the negative stuff in the earth that we try to hide from. The police are the ones dealing with it. And when something goes awry or something happens, they're criticized for it and investigated and made out to be the criminals in a lot of cases. So is that going to stimulate people to want to be a police officer or CMP? Or no, they're not going to want to, because it's a horrible life. You get burnt out, you PTSD, because you get to see the most horrific stuff that nobody ever wants to see, and they get to see it on a daily basis. They sacrifice everything for us. Everything within themselves They become shells of human beings because they try and hide all these feelings and stuff inside. I've got friends that are RCMP that have gone through burnout. I know what they go through. And it's not nice. And they do it for us, to keep us safe. But yet we're criticizing them. Now, if we stopped criticizing them and made them out to be the heroes that they actually are, then maybe more people would want to be police officers. And maybe we can get the enforcement to bring down some of the crime in Canada and make it less crime, make it easier for people to walk down the street and feel safe just walking down the street. I know for myself, when I go to a big city, I don't feel safe walking down the street. You shouldn't have to feel that way. And taking away law-abiding citizens' firearms isn't going to make people safe. It makes people actually feel more vulnerable, because now we don't even have a means to protect ourselves. And the criminals know that. And the criminals know that, hey, the firearms are gone, so guess what? Nobody has firearms in their houses anymore, so there's nothing stopping us from robbing who we want or hurting who we want. Because there is no police in it. Hardly any police. You gotta wait an hour before they show up. My shop here got robbed one time in the middle of the night. And I came to the shop, and I'm a half an hour drive away. So my alarm goes off, I get a phone call, and I phoned my son and said, hey, the alarm's going off, can you get to the shop? And don't go in there until I get there. So he pulls up, and the RCMP were told, like, we called the RCMP right away, the alarm company did. And police were dispatched. I'm a half an hour drive to the shop. I get to the shop, and I had to clear my own building to make sure that there was nobody in the building still. So I cleared the building, and then we waited for another hour for the police officer to show up. And I started to rip the police officer a new arse. And then he explained to me, he says, you know what? He said, just so you are aware, the counties hire only so many police officers. And right now, there is no police officers available. He says, I'm not even supposed to be on shift. He says, I was in bed sleeping at 3 a.m. when I got the call, and I had to get out of bed, and I'm not even supposed to be on shift until 8 o'clock this morning or 7 o'clock this morning. I had to get out, get to the station, get suited up, and get down here. And I had to drive a half an hour from town, because I'm not even from the town you're in. I had to come from another town because I was the only police officer that they was available to come. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He said, I'm serious. He said, if you want more police officers, you need to talk to your municipalities and your communities, because they're the ones that hire the police officers. They're the ones that pay the RCMP. Hey, we want 10 RCMP officers for this town, and we want 12 RCMP officers for that town. They pay for them. But if they only have in the budget to have 5 and 4, well, then that's all they're going to get. Plus, there's not enough police officers to be doing the work. So after that, I thought, you know, I'm left policing my own place, my own stuff. Because we're in a rural area, we just don't have the police officers here. So now when the government is trying to take away our firearms, they're taking away our opportunities to police ourselves. Because we can't rely on the RCMP officers. Because there's only so many of them, and nobody wants to be one anymore. Because they're made out to be criminals and horrible people, when they are the heroes. They sacrifice it all for us. So I would like to encourage people to maybe look into a career of law enforcement. Maybe shake the hand of an officer once in a while and say, you know what, thank you for doing what you do for us. And writing your municipalities and phoning your municipalities and asking for more enforcement. And start showing kids that are growing up how much these people are heroes, and they're going to want to maybe be a fireman and an RCMP officer when they grow up. When I was kids, man, when we were kids, we used to always want to be something like that because they were the heroes. I don't ever hear any of my grandkids or any of my family members or young kids ever talk about wanting to be a police officer, because they don't view them as heroes anymore. Man, they are the heroes. So, gun laws, government shoving that stuff down our throats, It ain't gonna work. What's gonna work is go back to what used to work and maybe start doing that again. This is just my thoughts.